Hey, it's JD, and I'm here with Marvin Dockstader Jr. from MDGA Success Mindset. And today we're just going to chat a little bit about um, people settling in life for things they shouldn't settle for. And I'm going to let Marvin talk a bit about it. Marvin, why do you think people settle in life? Why do you think people get to a place where they're settling for less than they should in life?
Well, I think a lot of it just comes down to people getting comfortable with their routine, getting comfortable with what they have. Anytime I would grow in my life, I'd go through these stages. There'd be kind of a honeymoon stage where it's really happy. There's these new exciting things in my life, and then those would those would go into my everyday routine. And before I know it, those were the things I was selling for. I wasn't pushing anymore. I wasn't growing anymore. And that's what,
Some people might, sorry to interrupt. Some people might say though, like if you're comfortable, that's a good place to be in life.
I don't think so. I don't believe in that. At least I know for myself, from my own experience, when I'm comfortable, that's when I'm dangerous. So that's, usually when I have too much free time on my hands.
Yeah. Idle hands, they say, eh?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. So describe to me like a situation that you think where a person gets comfortable and it is a bad thing where they're settling and how that relates to maybe some issues they may have in their lives.
Yeah, I think this is a huge thing for a lot of people. Even just the everyday person has got the regular 8 to 5 job, comes home to his family, and he's got a dog, a car, a house, whatever. He's settling for what he's been told. That's good enough for him. That's what he should have, and that's what I've found isn't true. It's everyone has a unique skill set, has a unique potential, and for everyone to listen and believe that everyone's entitled to the same thing and deserves the same thing. Everyone does have the same opportunity, absolutely, but to believe that there's this status, lifestyle of just redundancy. I don't believe in that. That sounds pretty.
Yeah. I call that the box that people put you in a box and say, hey, this is what you should have. This is all you're entitled to. This is what you should be doing in life. And it's usually in most cases, when you look at statistics in America, in most cases, it's a lot less than what they deserve or should have in life for sure.
Yeah, no, most definitely. And then I think what that does, it breeds a lot of boredom, and then with boredom, you start getting behaviors, or you start doing things that aren't very good, right? Maybe you pick up a couple habits like playing drinking or going to the bar on Fridays, or there's a million different things you can pick up, but usually when you leave space like that where you're bored, that's where the bad things can enter into your life. And
So if you're, yeah, so if you're settling for less than, what life could be, obviously boredom sets in. And then when boredom sets in, it's natural human instinct to look for something to cure that boredom. And in most cases, I guess the easiest things to reach to are those addictive elements, right? Like those things you shouldn't be doing to try and cure boredom. There's a path there, right? And I think that's something people have a tough time identifying is, how did I end up, wasting 5 years of my life and spending all my money in a bar or getting hooked on drugs? Um, you know, but if you reverse engineer that and go back to, well, I was bored, obviously, at some point you got so bored that you needed something beyond the norm to to cure that boredom. And so why were you bored? You know, you got to keep going backwards. I don't think people identify with that enough. I think society looks just at, you know, the guy's got a drinking problem, or the guy's, you know, hooked on drugs or whatever. To be able to come out of something like that, you know, and it could be anything. It could be an eating disorder. It could be anything, right?
Yeah.
You have to figure out what that stems from. You know, just labeling somebody as having that problem, and you know, well, what happens when they fix that problem? What happens when they go to a 12-step program and they come out and they're sitting around bored again, right?
Exactly.
That's why so many people fail at recovery. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was totally one. You know, this one thing I struggled with for a lot of years, and when I look back, that was the root of it. Is I was not happy with where I was. I mean, yeah, I was doing okay, but I wasn't happy. All I could think was, well, okay, so this is all life's about, you know, and just having a car and a house and working 8 to 5. You know, there had to be something else, and
Yeah.
I didn't understand that, and so yeah, you know, turned to other things to fill that, you know, to take that boredom away, or to escape that reality of discontent.
Yeah.
Until later on, I realized, hey, you know, I don't have to settle for this. I can go have whatever I want. I don't have to just be content.
So if settling is not, you know, settling can be the root of some of these things. What is the opposite of settling? I mean, what does it look like when you're not settling?
Well, what it looks like for me is constantly pushing the envelope, no matter how good things might get. That's kind of the trap, is when you get the big wins, like say you get the big promotion at work, or you know, whatever it might be for you. It's not, you know, you don't really want to come up for air too much. You want to just keep pushing, because there's a trap there. If you kick back and be like, okay, well, this is better than I've ever done, so you know, let's just relax here for a little bit. Well, there's nothing wrong with relaxing, but you got to keep pushing. You have to keep pushing. You can never quit. Otherwise, that's kind of the breeding grounds for the boredom, is when you quit.
So having goals and striving for better, striving for more, is probably what that relates to, right?
Yeah.
Is constantly having goals in your life, and not just, you know, if you have a set of goals, if you have 4 or 5 goals that you've been wanting to achieve, and then you achieve them, what next, right? now you're sitting around going, okay, what do I do now?
Yeah. So there's a saying that goes on, retirement's the #1 killer. Well, why is that? People have nothing to do. They don't have any goals.
Yeah, they're settling, right? Because they've been told their whole lives that you work for 35, 40 years and for the big prize, which is retirement. And we know all too well that's retirement is the beginning of death, because, you know, there's nothing there. There's no reason to get up every day.
Right.
And you're settling for what you've been told your whole life is what it should be, when the reality is, it's you know, allowing people to put you in that box and settling for that is the beginning of you ending up in a pine box, as opposed to, you know, the box people put you in.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I really relate to that well, because I mean, I don't even think of retirement. I don't even know what that is.
Yeah.
You know, retirement to me is death. It's nice to be done your career, but what next? You need to have something else, have other goals, other things in your life for when you do retire. I mean, you can only watch so much TV. You can only, you know, and, you know, where there's a big issue with stuff like that, you see all these casinos popping up everywhere, and you walk in there, and the people sitting in front of those machines all day are people with gray hair.
Right.
That are taking all the money they made for the last 40 years. Why? Because they're sitting at home bored. and sticking them in these machines. That's one thing right there for people who have settled for what they've been told. This is what you deserve. This is the prize at the end of 40 years of working, is sitting around, watching TV. And how long can people do that for before they need a distraction, right?
Right. Right. And the other pitfall there is, so a lot of people say, well, I don't want to work all the time. What's the point of life if I'm just going to work all the time? And that's another pitfall there. It's not about so much as working all the time as, when you push yourself, push your goals, you create a bigger life for yourself. It creates more freedom for you. If you think that you're free sitting in that box, like what you're saying, the 8 to 5 box, yeah, you're kidding yourself. That isn't freedom. That isn't the break. This is the way you can actually enjoy life the way that you want to. You can change. You can go, do anything you want to do as long as you keep pushing and growing. It really doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think you have to constantly be asking yourself, what am I passionate about? What other goals, what other things are there to learn? And I think you have to have that mindset until you're 90, till you're 100. Because if you don't have a reason to get up every day, then why get up,
Mm-hmm.
And that comes from having passions in your life, learning new things every day, having goals, setting goals, and learning and setting goals are very related because, if there's a goal you have that is something you've never done or don't know anything about, it's an opportunity to learn. And it may take you a week, it may take you a year to learn that, but now you've got something to strive towards every single day, instead of just, like you said, sitting around settling and just saying. And that applies to all areas of your life, right? Like it applies to relationships, to work, to life in general, to your downtime, to your interaction with your kids, even, right? If you get your $1 million family and then you just sit around and watch them sort of go through the motions every day, you're just passing on that settling mindset, putting them in the same box you were in.
No, absolutely. I mean, if you look at, if I look at my own life and what I've done, when I was bored and there was all kinds of things going on that shouldn't have been going on, most of the time I was just sitting there waiting for something to happen, right? I'm always waiting for the next thing to happen. And that's the trap. I mean, even look at all of society. They're waiting to retire. Well, you might as well. I mean, the reality of it is, what are you waiting for? Everyone's just waiting to die, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It really is.
There's too much life to be lived, right?
Yeah.
So how do you change your mindset though? How do you change your mindset from that settling mindset or accepting that you've been put in a box and that's the way life should be? How do you make that change? What steps can you take to reverse that mindset?
Well, the first thing I had to start doing was start looking at, number one, just start looking at the things that I was doing, looking at the life I was leading, look at the things that I wasn't happy with, look at the things I was happy with, and from there I can start taking responsibility for it. Because unless I take responsibility for all of it, then I'm not going to be able to change it. Because if someone else is responsible for a condition in my life, then that puts them in control of me, right? So I had to figure out how I'm responsible for all these things, whether no matter what it was, whatever dysfunction, the good and the bad. And from there, once I took that responsibility, figured out how I made that happen in my life, how I brought that into my life, I could start taking steps to eliminating the things that I knew weren't good, that were holding me back from where I wanted to go. And I guess that was the very first step, was just deciding that I wanted more, right? Until I decided that, then there was no point in any of it. So you decide what you want more, you take responsibility, and then you can start making small changes. You don't have to make huge changes at once. You can start making small changes that are that are going to kind of stretch you a little bit towards whatever that goal is.
What's motivated you though to take those steps? Because it's one thing to say in your mind, you know, I do want more, and I do want to aspire to bigger or better things or to have goals, but then you wake up the next day and you do nothing. You know, what can you incorporate in your life to make sure you are taking those steps every day and going down that road? Like, is it mentorship? Is it training programs? Is it like what helps people stay on that course to navigate away from just settling or being stuck in that box?
Well, education is definitely a huge part of that, because you start getting around people with different ideas and who have already made that stretch. And naturally, when you associate with them through books or, you know, audio programs, whatever, you start to take on some of their ideas and incorporate them as your own, and it helps you stretch. And really, what it was for me, you know, that was a huge part of it. But it was also, I came to this realization, you know, in doing that, there was this one time I can remember where I came to this realization that it was either death or go grow. It was one or the other. There was no staying where I was, because I was going to die if I did that.
Grow or die kind of thing,
Yeah.
right?
So I had a decision to make. It was, you know, it was either have a nice life or go wait to die somewhere. And that was really powerful to me. And that was a huge motivation. And from there, then, you know, I could start grabbing anywhere really nowadays, start grabbing everything that I could find that kind of coincide with the direction I wanted to take my life, with the kind of lifestyle I wanted to live. And
so what do you do though to motivate that? Like, do you read books? Do you sign up for training or seminars or you know, mentorship, or you know, what helps keep you on that path?
all of it, I'd say all of it,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
universally.
So find as much stuff like reading or videos or trainings as you can that are pointed in that direction, I guess.
Right. And the key there is, because there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of information out there, so you have to be able to sift through it. So I try to, you know, I try to stick with people that I know that have gone down a road that I want to go down or that I want to explore. And I try to make sure that all these people are going in the same general direction. If you start listening to people that are going in two different directions, you're going to become confused and frustrated.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I've come across that myself, where, you know, 3 or 4 different people I'm listening to, motivational people or mentors, and they're all going in different directions, and what that leaves you with is you're left with a lot of questions about whether the decisions you're making to get in that direction are right or wrong, or you make a decision to go in that direction and you start listening to another one and you're like, oh well, maybe I should shift over here, and that can be a bad plan for sure.
Yeah, what happens when you read and do things like that, how this works is you don't always get all of it right when you listen to it. It doesn't always just click. I found it rarely just clicks right away and, oh my gosh, this is the answer. It plants these seeds in you, and as you start to grow, then these seeds start to sprout these ideas, and you start to see how they can benefit you, or how you can integrate that into your own life. It's really quite an awesome thing to experience. And so,
Yeah.
if you got a bunch of oranges over here and apples over here, you know, sprouting up at the same time, you're going to become very confused because you're not exactly sure how these ideas work yet yourself.
Yeah. What are some identifiers, do you think, for people to identify that they're settling or in a box or moving in that direction where, you know, boredom's going to set in, and then bad decisions could be made to sort of cure that boredom?
Well,
like, are things like anxiety or things like that? Are they identifiers, or
I,
what?
I would say, really any kind of upset. If you spend most of the day upset in your life, you're not happy. I mean, happiness is the key indicator. I believe. If
Yeah.
it
Do you think people misconstrue the word happiness a little bit? Like they relate happiness to monetary things or superficial things. For me, a lot of happiness is just keeping busy.
mhm,
If I'm busy interacting with people or doing things in the space of my day, or busy with my kids or busy with my wife, I'm happy. As soon as I'm sitting in front of a TV doing nothing, I'm not so happy anymore.
exactly. No, and you're
Yeah,
exactly right. And most people are waiting to be happy, right? They're waiting until
yeah.
they have that big car, big house, so they can be happy. And that's not
But
it.
how many times does that happen? And because that's happened to me. I for a lot of years I wanted to have the big house, and when we got the big house, I didn't experience that process of euphoria or happiness that I expected from having it. And so I had to reevaluate that process and realize I'm happy now to have a nice house because I'm appreciating it for a different reason. I'm not appreciating it because I have a big house, because of owning a big house. I'm appreciating it now because my kids have a great place to live and their quality of life benefits from that. So now I'm happy when I look at it that way. But prior to that, and that only came because I did keep busy. I did have goals. I was motivated and striving for better. But my mind was thinking about it the wrong way. It was like, I want a big house because I want to be able to say I have a big house, or a nice house anyway. I shouldn't say big house, but just a nice house.
Right.
And when I got it, I was just standing there going, why don't I feel excited about this? Why don't I feel, it wasn't until I reevaluated it and then saw the quality of my kids' life living around here and how great their quality of life was that I started to find happiness in having a nice house like this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of that is just setting big enough goals, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I've done that my whole life. Is okay, as soon as I have this nice truck, when I was younger, I'm going to be really happy. I'm going to have it made. Life's just going to be awesome, right? And then you get the truck and life's the same. You're like, well, that didn't work, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny how that works. It really is. But yeah, I think if you have goals like that, you have to set them for the right reasons, right? And not set them for superficial or monetary reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Why are you setting that goal? Is it just to own something? I mean, to me, that's an empty goal. There's no happiness in that at all.
Right.
A lot of people think there is, though, because society dictates that, right? Again, that's that box, right? Like you get put in that box, you have to own all this material stuff to be happy. And that's not reality. That's not real, you know. It's okay to own nice things, but I think you have to evaluate the reasons why you want to own them. Is it just to be able to show off and show, and impress people, or is it because you want a better quality of life that these things bring?
Yeah. I mean, it just depends on it's all in setting your goals. There's nothing wrong with having those nice things. What makes life easier,
No,
right?
that's right. Yeah.
Is your goal to create a fabulous lifestyle for your family and the people around you, or is your goal to just have a nice house? One's a lot
Yeah.
more fulfilling than the other, and you can have both.
Yeah. 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 So if you were to offer anyone some advice that's, feeling like they're settling in life or feeling like they need more, or they've even sunk into that boredom phase of after you settle and then you get bored and they're, spending too much time in the bar or spending too much time on the computer or looking at porn or doing drugs or whatever these distractions are that pull you away from, having the type of quality of life you want. What advice would you offer them to break free of that?
Well, I just want to shake him and say, hey, there's a big world out here. There's a lot more for you out here than just sitting there doing all those things. There's a big, wonderful life to be lived, and I think that's the key. That's what people need to wake up and see, that you're not tied to this life that your dad told you had to have, or your mom or whoever. You don't have to do that. There's way, way, way more out here than that. And I think just realizing that'll get you on the right track.
What's the first step someone like that should make to take a step away from that, to take a step in a different direction?
Well, number one is to set a goal, right? Set a goal for growth.
Yeah.
Once you got to pick a direction. You got to pick a direction no matter what it is. And it really doesn't matter what it is. You can always change that. All that matters is that goal is going to help you expand. Then from there, you can do those things that we talked about, look at your life, take responsibility, make some changes.
Yeah. Goals are a good distraction away from that stuff, right? Away from, if you're stuck in a rut right now and you're spending too much money drinking or doing all those other things we talked about, setting goals are a good distraction from that, and working towards those goals. You find you don't have as much time to do those things.
Right.
Yeah. And as when you are setting goals and striving towards them, you're probably around a different group of people too. Chances are, if you're doing things as a result of boredom that are related to addictive lifestyles, chances are, if you take a look at the people around you in your immediate vicinity, they're probably doing the same.
Yeah. And what'll happen, the one thing I found, I drank a lot through my younger years, and the one thing I found was it doesn't work to try and quit doing those things. At least it didn't for me. But exactly what you said, to what happened was, I started setting these targets for myself, and then I started hitting them just one after the other. And then before I knew it, I started having, had a couple wins under my belt, and I started feeling better about myself. So it raised my self-esteem up. I felt better about myself. And pretty soon I was just winning everything I touched. I was winning, and it was just so amazing. I didn't have, like you said, I didn't have time to want to do those things. I didn't even want to, because of how much fun I was having.
Yeah. Nice. Cool. All right. Well, I think that's all I have for now. Is there anything you want to add at all?
Well, I think that about covers it. I mean, I think that's a big part of my mission. I think, is to help as many people as I can wake up. Wake up from the monotony, from the box.
Yeah. There's a lot of life out there to live, right? So, but the only way you can do that is you got to snap out of it.
Right.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, we'll end it for now, and we'll see you folks next time on our next video.